Hello, friends, and welcome to the 61st episode of All New Snap Judgments. As always, I'm Roy Rogers, and joining me today is my friend and yours, the CEO and Space Emperor of the Snap Judgments Podcasting Network, and now the Snap Judgments Alliances, the one, the only, Aaron Pulse Glazer. Aaron, my friend, how are you on this wonderful dog day of summer?
I'm doing pretty good. Marvel Snap decided to be crazy time consuming this week because alliances, OTA, patch, there will be like 9 or 10 videos that come out this week. It's been a bit of an ordeal, but luckily I have my new allies to help us out.
Oh, your new allies? Well, that is really exciting. I'm really excited to talk about alliances. It's a super cool feature. But Glazer, who is going to be joining us as our very special guest this week to discuss alliances, Deadpool's Diner, and more?
So we are joined by 2 people who are not in my alliance. But we are joined by one person who's running multiple of his own alliances. It is the great Interrobang, Interrobange. How you doing, Interro?
Good. How you guys doing?
I'm doing great. And how could our friends find you, Interro?
You can find me every night, midnight EST on Twitch, twitch.tv/Interrobang with an E on the end, because I don't have my real name yet. And you can find me tweeting away 24/7 on Twitter, Interrobang with an E on the end.
Nice. There, Elon's going to change your name to Interrobex, and then you're just going to have to call it X, so just wait for it. We are also joined by the man who is trying to be very quiet to not wake a baby. It is one of my favorite streamers when I can actually bully him into streaming. The ultimate troll of Lambie series. It's JDMacdonaldinho. How you doing, JD?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
He sounds so calm when he's not bullying people. JD, how could our friends find you?
Twitter and Twitch, JDMacdonaldinho. Pretty intermittent streams, but good follow on Twitter. I post some good decks that you've probably not seen yet.
Yeah, very fair. We featured a bunch of your decks recently on the channel.
Yes, I was nodding, but it's an audio podcast.
It is an audio-only podcast, yes, despite what the comments request each and every week. But what I do each and every week is remind you how to engage with us on social media. So we are also a good follow on whatever Elon Musk is calling his hell site right now. I believe it is still called X, but it was previously called Twitter. At least that's what the emails of notifications that I get when Glazer gets tagged as something, which is a lot of emails. And so our Twitter/X name is @SnapJudgeCast. But even more so than our Twitter, we are incredibly grateful to be the official podcasting partner of Marvel Snap Zone, the best website to cover Marvel Snap, to get your Marvel Snap news, to get your strategy insights from many of our guests, including Lauren Wood-Evs and Den and lots and other folks we've had on the show. So we are grateful each and every week to be the official podcasting partner of Marvel Snap Zone. If you want to reach us via the snail mail of the internet, where all of those Kick notifications go, where some Twitter notifications go, all kinds of nonsense gets sent to that email. And that can include your emails to us if you email us at snapjudgmentspodcast@gmail.com, which brings us to the final 2 most important social medias. First and foremost, where you are probably, based on the numbers, listening/watching this episode, our YouTube channel, where 6 out of 7 days a week, Aaron is out there producing daily Snap takes on our YouTube channel at Snap Judgments Pod. So over at the YouTube channel, every day but Saturday, when this podcast goes live, Glazer's out there producing content. He is the hardest working streamer in Marvel Snap, or I guess video producer, not streamer. And that is found in those daily Snap takes. So Glazer, if our loyal listeners were to become our loyal viewers, what would they find on the YouTube right now?
I mean, like 9 videos this week. We've done our usual 3 to 4 decks every single day, and then we covered the OTA and the patch specifically, which we'll be covering in some more and different detail here again, although I don't think I actually wrote down the full patch notes here. So, I guess we're not. We're covering the OTA here. Yeah, everything is covered. All things Marvel Snap are covered today. Are covered on the channel.
All right. Last but not least is our Patreon. So our Patreon is patreon.com/snapjudgments. Now, some Patreons out there are, I know, because I'm a Patreon supporter of many different podcasts, it can sometimes feel like a pyramid scheme, but in ours is a reverse pyramid scheme, because the primary reason the Patreon exists is so that Aaron can justify the money he puts on his credit card to his small child and his wife. All right, so if you want Glazer to continue to produce his awesome content, to continue to pour money into things like the Snap Judgments League, the daily and regular tournaments that fire over in the Snap Judgments Discord, organizing the Snap Judgments Alliances, all of that is made justifiable to the real boss of Aaron's life, which again is that small child and his wife, through your support. So please consider supporting if you can for as low as $1. Gets you in to the Snap Judgments League when it's running. All great value, early access to videos, and all kinds of other perks. So please support the community, support Glazer through patreon.com/snapjudgments. All right, let's jump into the OTA. This is, we've been having a lot of pretty big, impactful OTAs, but I feel like I say this every time, but I really do believe that this is probably one of the craziest. But we're going to take it piece by piece, or at least the opening ones, that top row here, piece by piece, because Loki. So, Interrobang, what do you think of Loki, who's been changed now to a 3/5 on reveal, replace your deck with your opponent's starting deck, give those cards -1 cost, and draw a card? What do you think of new Loki?
He has that fabled 3/5 stat line now. I wish they would experiment with different numbers there, but it really does seem like they can't justify a 3-cost card anymore unless it's a 3/5. But I don't know if he's necessarily nerfed. I think he's sort of adjacent to what he used to be now. I mean, just bringing him down a whole cost. The effect, you're going to have less explosive, like, hey, I just got everything I need in my hand turns, but you may, you're going to draw a card right away, which is already an incredibly powerful effect. And then for the rest of the game, you're going to keep drawing cards. So my barometer for that is I sort of look at it as, how will this face Tribunal? And I'm going to draw a card, and then I have the rest of those turns to see if I can draw, the combo pieces that I need for that. And you're going to hit it. Sometimes you're not going to hit it, but you're basically just as good as the deck itself. So that's kind of how I look at it. I think it's fine. I think in Arishem, it's still going to be insanely broken. Now he comes out on 2. I think Arishem needs to be looked at in a vacuum. I think cards like, even cards like Fastos, like Fastos is a bad card, but you put him in Arishem and he's all of a sudden, not, he might not be good, but he's not bad anymore. So everyone looking at Loki and saying like, well, Loki's nerfed, Loki's dead, Loki, isn't it anymore? He still slots right into Arishem. Now you're going to be playing Loki on 2, and then you have the rest of the game to draw cards out of your opponent's deck that are discounted and like ready to go. So it's going to be interesting to see if he's even better than he is before, especially in the Arishem deck.
JD?
Yeah, really big change. I have a lot of thoughts on this change. I think it's kind of funny as well. Like, we've been talking about Loki and its effect for nearly a year now, and they've like refused to sort of give in to, I don't know if it's a like loud minority, but it's been a very polarizing card. But now they're finally changing it because it's a accessory to their new problem card, Arishem. I kind of wonder if Loki as its own deck is just dead, or if it's just like, maybe the effect now is just significantly different. I I think in Arishem, one of the things about playing against Arishem is like the end of the game. You don't know what they can do. Like it's like they can play any sort of card. They can play Blob. They're able to play Loki a turn early, and then they have that extra turn to top deck like tech cards or Blob or whatever. But I think it removes some of that uncertainty now in Arishem because they're just drawing your cards. And I think the effect, like, instead of starting with like a whole hand of discounted cards, you're now drawing them one by one. Be interesting to see, like, it seems a lot slower, if that makes sense. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see how it pans out.
I mean, it pans out bad. This isn't a good card. Like, it's just, I mean, I could be wrong, I suppose, right? But I mean, half the meta is still Darkhawk, and now just Darkhawk is better because you're putting 12, so 11 cards in the deck because Loki's immediately drawing one, right? 11 extra cards in the deck is huge. It's huge. That's a 23 power Darkhawk or whatever it is, 22 power Darkhawk plus 4, so 26 power Darkhawk right there. And there you're going to draw 2 more cards or 3 more cards or whatever it is. You're still going to have an 18 power Darkhawk without any extra work. That's completely insane.
It's better than a 40 power Darkhawk, though.
Sure, in Arishem, but like Loki was an archetype. Loki was a deck.
Yeah.
Right? And like, so between this and then the Loki was a deck, and then like, well, Noki was good at least, right? But they removed your ability to run Shadow King and Luke Cage, and I'm not sure if Noki exists or not anymore, because Shadow King and Luke Cage was like such a major part of that deck. Basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to scale up your little guys to be huge, and then Shadow King off when they scaled up their little guys to be huge, but you needed Luke for that, and now you can't Luke that, so like, how do you run your Elsas or your Thenas in that deck? This seems problematic. So, like, I think this week in Marvel Snap, there are 3 fewer archetypes that exist than there were at the start of the week. That Noki deck it might still exist, but it's like a severe tier down. Loki, which just straight up doesn't exist, and we'll get to the third of those, but Clog has to be a completely different deck right now. Like, it has to change so much. So, like, this deck doesn't have a million archetypes, and just like in a week cutting out 3, thank God for like alliances and all the other things to distract from it, but to just say 3 archetypes now no longer exist in 1 week is wild to me. I have other thoughts that we'll get to as we get through these turns.
So for me, I think everybody is wrong about Loki, only in the sense that I think this is a complete from the ground redesign. And like, our takes on it right now are much closer to how people felt about Loki when he was first released, right? Like, I think there needs to be, I mean, we're recording this Thursday night. The card's been out for a handful of hours, so it's not really possible to say really like what the deck is capable of or what it does, but like, it's just a different card. Like, it just not, because I think what playing Arishem convinced me is like the strongest thing about Loki is that you basically drew the cards, right? Like, but the fact that he gives you 1 cost reduced card rather than a handful of cost reduced cards is like a huge difference. And the fact that your draws are now your opponent's deck, like, and if that doesn't synergize with the plays you necessarily made early. Now, if you are playing Loki on turn 2 as your first play of the game in Arishem, that's like a whole different world. But if you're playing, if that's not necessarily how your hand flows out, if you play it at 3, whatever, or older school Loki decks that aren't based around Arishem, like, they definitely have to be reworked. So I think I don't feel comfortable like making hard takes on this, because I just think it's a fundamentally different card, and we need to update our heuristics about like what it means to play Loki in a way that very few cards since Alioth, right, who like went through multiple different sort of like redesigns that sort of did what he was capable of. Or I guess we'll get to Dr. Octopus in a second, but like, where this card is just very different. And I think, hot takes aside, I love hot takes. I'm not convinced by any of our takes right now without another week or two's worth of like experience with the card.
Yeah, I'd bet almost anything that outside of Arishem, this isn't a very good card. Like, it's just because it replaces your deck. It's just real. Like, when it replaced your hand, you had a functional deck in your hand, right? Like, yeah. Go ahead and tell.
Yeah. You can still draw your native Shang-Chi or whatever.
I think Glazer's right that that Loki the archetype has died. I think he is now not necessarily a tech card, but he sits in that space where like Nocturne sits, right? And then like unless you're playing Arishem, am I playing Loki over Nocturne? And I'm not. I don't think I am. So I think on the turn Loki on turn 2, Arishem is going to be crazy. I think JD makes a very interesting point that now the uncertainty of Arishem is gone, which was one of, if not his most powerful aspects, where they had to play around 350 different cards at the end of the game. Now they just have to play around their own deck. But I think that the thing about Marvel Snap is there's 6 turns. We see it in other card games where mana cheat is very, very powerful. And when you only have 6 turns, mana cheat is just too powerful when it's only one player doing it. So I still think as long as Loki is giving you a discounted, deck or discounted cards, he's going to find a place to live. Especially when it's like I was a Fastos believer. I was like, oh man, any energy cheat card I'm getting, and Fastos has energy cheat on it, but they really did him a disservice by making it like one or the other, and you don't know which one is going to hit. But Loki is just straight up discounts your cards, draw a card. Like it's every dangerous aspect of Marvel Snap slapped into a card again. So I do think he'll find a place, but I think the archetype Loki is not what it is anymore for sure.
He had a good run.
Yeah.
He did have a good run. He was a very powerful card his entire time in Snap. All right. Do we have any more Loki thoughts, or are we ready to move on to everyone's least favorite card?
Sure.
All right. Leech. All right. So, JD, Leech has been changed to a 4/4 on reveal. Remove the text from 6 cost cards in your opponent's hand. Thoughts, feelings, hot takes about our boy Leech.
How many weeks until this is a 5 cost again? That's like
good
my only real note on Leech is that maybe I don't know. It's probably worse than before, only targeting 6 drops. Like the top deck in the game right now doesn't run 6 drops at all. Yeah, I think Leech at 4 is kind of dangerous still.
I think it's a major blink target now. I think people are going to be blinking their butts off with a 4-cost Leech, and it might even hit twice now, right? You might, if you Leech and then whiff, he might pop into your hand again. You might be able to play him again. So I think I'm also not a Leech hater. I think Leech is pretty healthy for the game. Actually, I think he keeps a lot of shenanigans in check. So him targeting just 6 costs, I'm a little upset about that. I was even upset about him only targeting on reveals, but I'm a master troll, so I think Leech, like Loki, will always find a spot, especially when he's cheaper than 5 or 6. So a 4-cost Leech is definitely going to find a home.
One of the things that's really propping up Leech right now is alliances. There's alliance shit all over the place that's destroy and discard cards, and that means Apocalypse and Null. And there are hardly 2 cards I'd rather just be like, no thanks, in their respective decks than Apocalypse and Null, right? Like, if you can just say, well, turn 4 Leech, and if you had Apocalypse or Null, goodbye. Like, that's a snap and a half, right? Like, that's a snap condition. Assuming that alliances continue to push these types of archetypes, I think that Leech is going to be really solid in them. Outside of that, it's a blink target. It's still gonna, and like, there's going to be metas where this is going to be insanely powerful and frustrating. but I think that's probably good. Look, I like lower cost cheap stuff. I like bounce. I like decks like that. So Leech is one of my least favorite cards, or was one of my least favorite cards, and now it's a card that only affects things I don't play. I have 2 or 3 decks built that have any damn 6 costers in them. So I don't give a shit about Leech. Thanks for taking this card out back for at least a little while.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Leech is clearly a card that they don't like every time it becomes quote unquote meta. And so it just is going to constantly be hit by the nerf bat. I think this card deserves the Loki treatment. At least try to find something I think a little bit more interesting than a 6-drop nuker. I mean, it's kind of funny that now they feel comfortable buffing Apocalypse, I guess, because there's this easy answer if discard is truly the deck that you hate more than anything in the world, or destroy, right? Because both are, as Glazer said, pushed by alliances a lot, as it seems like every alliance. Well, we'll talk about this in a little bit when we get to alliances. But yeah, I just think that Leech is just a card that is going to be a constant, predator in Marvel Snap if they keep in this blanking your cards design space, and so it might end up being worth it to change it or come up with some magic text it does something like the on reveals for a turn and it can't be the last turn or something like that, some nonsense like that. So I would leave it to the design team to sort of come up with, I think, a better design space than Leech from where they are. All right, let's talk about Doc Ock. So Interrobang, Doc Ock is now 4/8, pretty good stats, but on reveal, pull the lowest power card from your opponent's hand to their side of this location. This is a huge change. What are your thoughts and feelings about everybody's favorite Spider-Man villain?
I think he is definitely going to find a home. I think 4/8 as a stat line is insane. I'm definitely going to be cooking with him tonight. I'm going to make him work. I really enjoyed Doc Ock. Again, all these hate cards that everyone was sick of. I really liked playing them. I really think that they kept certain things in check that would probably run rampant without them. I think now Doc Ock is just a little different. He's still an insane disruption tool. You can now, especially if you pair him with Red Guardian, you could pull out an Iron Man and then Red Guardian it or something like that. So he's definitely going to find a place. I think at 4, it's just, that is a crazy stat line. I can't believe they went with 4/8 there. I do really like Clog as an archetype, and it's a little sad that he doesn't pull more than 1 now. But often by that part of the game or that time of the game, you could probably find a lane that has 2 or 3 cards in it still, and you can still use them as a Clog tool. But yeah, I'm a little upset that he only pulls 1 card now. But the 4/8 stat line is outrageous to me.
JD?
Yeah, still playable card. Less splashable in Arishem, which I guess is their goal. It's kind of a secret Selene buff as well.
There we go. I like Selene getting buffed. That's exciting to me. I love that card. Glazer?
This card's terrible. What are you talking about? Do I have to actually pretend this card is good? This card's terrible. It's not a 4/8 unless the lane is full. It's a 4 plus whatever your opponent has.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that, generally speaking, makes it around a 4/6, right? If you're lucky, it's a 4/6. And you know what that is? That's freaking White Queen. When's the last time you ran White Queen?
Yeah, my first reaction to reading this change and thinking about it was, is this card too expensive with this text? If you think about other cards that pull stuff to the board, yeah, like Gladiator, like Baron Zemo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
well, it's a little more targeted. I don't think it's bad at all. I think a lot of the cards at that point of the game that are in your opponent's hand, they have a plan for, and they want to play in a very specific way. So if you're disrupting that game plan, if you're putting them in a spot that they don't want them to be, that could be game changing. That could be game winning sometimes.
Sure. And it could be game losing sometimes, right? Like,
Yeah,
it could
but
be either of those.
that's the variance of, sometimes you pull Doc Ock and it pulls 3 6-drops in a Shang, and you're like, okay, I lost. And, then you move on.
But now it's just pulling one card. So, like, it's the situation. It's very unlikely to lose you the game. Win you the game. And I think it's reasonably likely to lose you the game. The lowest power cards your opponents play tend to be really good cards. Like, it's not lowest cost, it's lowest power, right? So you pull a Goblin, they're like, thanks, dummy. You pull a White Widow, thank you. Right? Like, and it's, okay, this is turn 4, so what low power cards do they still have? Darkhawk, a Null, an Iron Man. Great, awesome, thanks. Once in a while you'll get their Mystique, right? But you'll also get their Patriot. It's not like it blows up the card. This is not Gladiator. Like, it's just, hey, you get a card. Like, it's Gladiator if Gladiator missed. Automatically.
True. I do think it allows you to respond, whereas a lot of times, so if you, in that instance, you pull Darkhawk, right? You pull Darkhawk on 4, you now have 2 turns to respond to that Darkhawk. Whereas if they play their own Darkhawk, it's probably in a location where you weren't ready for it, or they have secured its safety in some way.
Sure, but like the resources of playing a 5-coster, like I will take that trade almost 100% of the time for the resources of playing a 5-coster, literally 5 of my energy versus 0 of my energy.
No, yeah.
4 of your energy. You spent 4 of your energy to get 8 power and give me whatever.
I'm gonna be cooking with them, Glazer. You can leave them by the wayside.
You let me know.
You're gonna be featuring a Interrobang Doc Ock list pretty soon.
You let me know how bad Gladiator does for you. Like, it's just why am I running this and not Cassandra Nova and not Gladiator? I watched Woody play with this for a solid hour while I was figuring out other shit, and he had it in this deck. It's like a really cool Darkhawk deck. And you know how many times Dr. Octopus was the right play? 0. Not a single one. He was just like, what the fuck is this card doing in this deck? And then he would just that could be Shang-Chi every few minutes, right? Like, it's just...
I mean, if Zabu becomes a playable card again, and you can play this Dr. Octopus on 3, does that make this a little bit stronger?
Sure. But, now I'm choosing between that and all the other 4s in the game, right? Like, is this... I'd rather play Cull Obsidian, right? Like, Cull Obsidian's in a current meta zoo deck. What 4s do I want to play this over is my big question. War Machine, I'll play it over War Machine.
Wow, we'll get to the more minor changes in a second. We got one more major change since Glazer already...
Intero has more thoughts about Doc Ock.
You got more thoughts, Intero?
Me? I just I feel like I liked Doc Ock, and just recently I started to love Doc Ock, and then they changed him. So it felt kind of it felt like he had just started to Doc Ock has had some time to shine, here and there, but as soon as he started to really find his footing, and maybe it was only in Arishem, but Clog has started to make a comeback as well, and he was used in that as well. But I don't know. It feels like as soon as something gets rolling, they hit it.
Well, yeah, I think.
Oh, go ahead, Ray.
To me, Doc Ock died for Arishem's sins, right?
Yeah, of course.
This on 4, followed by Leech on what's left in your hand, and then it just. I think Doc Ock is, people will eventually, I think, a few meta cycles, once Arishem is finally brought within the range of where people want it. I think particularly if Tribunal comes back, and some other decks that are pretty vulnerable to Dr. Octopus become really popular, I think people are going to be like, oh, the hero we need is old school Doc Ock. Because I do think this card was a predator on some play experiences that people really don't like. And I've played a lot of Dr. Octopus, and I will say there were sort of 2 Dr. Octopus outcomes outside of Arishem to me. There's either you completely fucked over your combo play opponent, or you pull their Shang-Chi, and then you brought 3 cards down, and they blow up your Dr. Octopus. There's very little range outside of Arishem, having played a lot of Dr. Octopus in Clog, and a lot of Dr. Octopus in Galactus. Like, I've played, since this game has come out, I've played a lot of Doc Ock, and I think he was the Predator on things that people pre-Arishem whined about a lot. And so I feel like people may end up pining for this member of the Sinister Six in the future, but I think right now, pushing him away from that really obnoxious Arishem play pattern, if you're playing Deadpool's Diner, he is a wise choice.
I mean, the Clog was a tier 1 deck, right? Loki was a tier 1 deck, and Noki was at worst 1.5. Those decks are gone. Like, the key piece of 3 decks were gone largely for Arishem sins.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Clog, my girl White Widow over here is been nerfed. Her ongoing on her Widow's Kiss is now -3 power. All right, JD, what do you think about Black Widow's sister getting hit with the nerf bat?
I think this was just like a really popular card that they wanted to like rein in a little bit. Sometimes they make one of those changes where it's like, let's take 1 point off and see if people play it a bit less. It's like still a really good 2-drop. You used to, when you were making a deck, you used to just be like, okay, here's Jeff, and now you're like, oh, do I put Jeff in or do I put White Widow in? And I think you're still asking that same question. I think it's still a good card.
Yeah, agree 100%. I think they
Is this a Kate Bishop nerf?
Because of
Like-
the Goblin Arrow card.
Sure, but also just because, like, how many 2-drops are you running? Right? Like, what are you cutting? Are you cutting Jeff, White Widow for Kate? That's hard. That's a hard sell, right? So you make White Widow just a little bit worse, so Kate looks a little bit better, more likely to get played.
It could be true.
It's a thing they've done before.
They would never.
I mean, they like tell us, they were like, "Oh, we changed Yondu, so it works with Parry and Zemo," right? Like, they do shit like this all the time, where it's just like, this change, which doesn't seem to make the most sense, is really letting us know about something in the future. The other thing is, this card goes in the exact same decks it did. Like, what its real power isn't really the -4. I know that the -4 is a big number and everyone likes it, but it's just that it takes a place on the board.
Yeah. I think I've said this before on the show. I think White Widow is like a pretty fair clogged card, because one, you can choose to fill it up and go high, play some of your top high power cards there, play into it. If you really hate White Widow, you can play Destroy. You can play, like, there's like different ways to sort of like deal with White Widow. Like a Carnage is White Widow's like nightmare card, right? Or Deathlock. So I think for me, I'm with Glazer on this. I think this is just more of a less White Widow is a busted card and more like they want to make room for more 2-drops. And this is, because like Jeff, I'm a huge defender of never changing Jeff, because I think Jeff is just like one of the cleanest, most satisfying designs in Marvel Snap, and like just should stay. And I think it should be like a series. I think it should move down to like series 2. Like, it's just like such a clean card that I think all Marvel Snap players should have access to, just because it like just feels good to play Jeff. And I think it's really hard to be like the second best 2-drop in Marvel Snap. and White Widow was so clearly the second best 2-drop in Marvel Snap, unless you were doing something specific that required some synergy heavy 2-drop, that if they want Kate to see play and be worth our $9 in a week, they are going to need to make sure that all the 2-drops are more competitive. It's a more competitive space. All right. Well, why don't we dig into sort of these sort of 3 minor buffs and nerfs, which is Blob, which is 13, goes down to stopping once he absorbs 13 power. Thank you, Arishem. War Machine gets buffed by 1, and Apocalypse gets buffed by 2. So, Interro, what do you think of these sort of like minor buffs, minor nerfs, impactful, non-impactful? Did I still waste my 6K tokens on War Machine?
Yes, War Machine, this doesn't do anything for him. Very insignificant buff. Blob, I don't know why they keep picking away at him. Again, an Arishem Sin, dealing to him. But like gaining 15, like that was fine, I think. Like they keep making these 6-drops that they want to be premier 6-drops, and then hitting them one or 2 times. Like they hit Red Hulk, now they hit Blob twice. I'm above all else, above functionality and all that, I'm a big flavor fan, and them taking the can't be moved off Blob really hit me where where it hurts. And I think someone on the Discord asked Glenn, like, why don't you just make it like like the text on there, not an on reveal, not an ongoing? Why can't you just give it? And he gave some like long-winded explanation of like why it has to be an on. I'm like, just put the text on it. Like I don't understand. Like none of this makes sense. Just put it on there. I don't know. I'm not a fan of continuously hitting Blob when he's really only used in one deck, right? Like where are you putting Blob where he's going to eat the rest of your deck and matter? So again, for them to pretend that Arishem isn't the reason all these things are getting hit is kind of silly. For Apocalypse, I can't believe how big a 6/6 Apocalypse still got sometimes. So for them to raise it back up to 8 is kind of scary. I think he's going to get really, really big, especially now that Discard looks like it's the big winner of this OTA. So I expect to be facing a lot of Discard in the next week or 2.
JD.
Blob, I see a lot of people getting like, I don't want to say hung up about the power, but I just hope this will mean less 20 plus power blobs. I think that was the like really frustrating thing about playing against Blob was like even in the mirrors, like the amount of games I would play against Aoi specifically, the French player, we would both play Blob on the same turn. Mine was like every single time, mine was 15 and his was like 25 every single time. So I'm hoping like less of that will happen. Apocalypse, I think it's good for Discard. I feel like that deck should be comparable to Destroy, and I think for a while it hasn't. And then War Machine, like I feel like that card could be an ongoing and last 2 turns, and it maybe still wouldn't matter. I don't know.
I feel like I just want to check. So JD, I mean, you're a high level player, but I feel like a lot of these. So like I just sentence wise, like I don't like Blob because sometimes he hits 25 power, and I feel like they design these 6-drops where these sometimes should happen. Like Red Hulk should sometimes gain enough power to be unaddressable or something like that, and Blob should sometimes hit this power where you were expecting 15 but he ate an Infinite and popped off. Like I don't know why they're so scared of having these moments where like these 6-drops are supposed to feel like premier plays at the end of the game. I don't know, I'm interested in what your take is on that.
I mean, with some cards, they like change the floor or they change the ceiling, but I guess with Blob, like they're both kind of connected. So you can't really change one without the other being affected. I'm not sure, like a 13 power Blob probably going to sting. if you get that consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see how it pans out.
I think I was playing the other. I think I might have been on Game 5 of Infinity Conquest, and someone played a blob, and I think they ate like 14 power, and then ate an Infinite.
Yeah.
It became like 30, became like 34 power. I was like, what? Like I couldn't, I couldn't deal with that, and I couldn't address it at the end of the game. And yes, those moments, really suck, especially when it's like, what am I supposed to do? But like, a consistent, like you said, a consistently 13 power blob. Why am I playing blob? Why shouldn't I just play something with more like for
It's
one
like
power
tick
less?
Red
I can
Hulk.
play Magneto, and I could like seriously screw up my opponent with Magneto instead of just dropping a 13 power blob. So I don't know. I wish that some of these 6-drops felt a little more unique. And I wanted to say this about Doc Ock. I feel like they just keep finding like really like simple ways to change the card text. Like, I really like Red Guardian's design where he like does two things, and he can be like very flexible. Like you either you want to turn something off, or you want to bring something out. So whatever it is that you're using Red Guardian for, the -2 power or turn off the effect. I wish they were playing more in that space where maybe Doc Ock pulled something. What if it said like Doc Ock pulls the lowest card text and removes its text, or like something like that. Like they have so much space to play around with, but they're just like slapping these really simplified text boxes onto everything.
So I think that the problem that they're running into is that they don't have as much space as they thought. And I think the reason they don't have as much space as they thought is they limited themselves to fundamentally 6 costs. And there's no color chart, right? There's no color pie, so like anything can go in anything. And because there's only 12 deck spots and 6 costs, there's only so many numbers you can put on a deck, right? Like that's why all the 3s have to be 3/5s now. Because like what else are you going to do? A 3/4 has to be completely insane to be remotely playable, right? Like, it's the problem with 1s, and we saw this happen first with 1-drops, right? Where like Hydra Bob was unplayable as a 1/4. I know JD, but it was. And then like as a 1/5, it's phenomenal. Like it's a great card. But like you can't just print a bunch of 1/5s and then a bunch of 3/5s because that's a really, really funky game, right? Yeah. So like they've sort of painted themselves into a design space corner.
And I think you made a good point, Glazer, where it's like, all right, you give me a 3/4 or give me a 3/3, but make the effect interesting or worth adding to my deck. And I think rather than figure that out, or rather than play in that space, they're just like, just make it a 3/5 and then people will play it. And I'm getting like so sick of that. Like I want some variety here.
Well, I think there's one problem, and I think they did come up with a solution, which I'm excited about. So I think the other problem is their card release schedule is, so let's say they wanted to do Typal, right? Where they said like, I'm going to put the X-Men like they did with that event, right? X-Men and Avengers. Like, let's say we want to do that. But their current card release is like, they can't release a bunch of Avengers cards at once, right? Like even if they do Avengers month, right? With a bunch of Typal Avengers cards for when Doomsday comes out in 2028 or whatever, right? They would only be able to release 5, right? Of those cards, and 5 or 6. And that's not enough. That's half a deck. Right. So they would have to re-nerf cards. It's like such a headache for them to sort of like post a bunch of synergy stuff all at once. And so they're like in this like weird situation. I think Activate, which is coming in September, I think is a solution to a lot of their design space problems, because like Activate and like really putting this additional cost into a card, but with a lot of upside that is not an on reveal. It's not stopped by the dog. It's not stopped by a lot of unrevealed hate. You get to choose when it happens. It's
not
like
Howard the Duck.
Right. It's not Howard the Duck. It's like a huge like innovation. Like it's not an innovation in game design, but it's a huge innovation in Marvel Snap design that I think will save them in the long term from a lot of the problems of choosing to make Marvel Snap, I don't mean this in a mean way, like a base, very simple and straightforward game mechanically. That's awesome and is why Marvel Snap is very accessible, but like it has a cap, right? And now that they're leaning into activate, which is a legitimately confusing mechanic, and we've talked about it a bunch on the show. Like, how does it work? When does it activate? And like, it requires you to like understand game timing in a way that very few other abilities do. But I think once activate starts rolling out into, like, let's say the Spider-Man month in September is really successful. If it starts rolling out into the regular release schedule where we get like an activate card a month or every other month, there's activate designs, is I think going to solve a lot of these design problems for Marvel Snap.
Yeah, I'm really interested in activate and how that's going to change up. Right now we only know like 3 cards, right? We know on reveal, ongoing, and then cards that just do things without doing anything to them. So it'll be nice to get some fresh card text in there.
And those Spider-Man cards are exciting, right?
And I think to that point, to the previous point where they're kind of playing it basic. I think now, as they nerf and readdress cards, a lot of effects and a lot of cards are having like overlap with each other because they only know how to like, if they nerf, it almost feels like sometimes they nerf a card and forget that something similar exists. And now you have like 2 cards that do the same thing, and we were seeing it now with like Dr. Octopus, right? Where Glazer was like, "This is just Gladiator," and it's like it's almost like, did they forget they had Gladiator? Like, it's too similar. Like, yes, they're different, and yes, you're playing one way more often than the other, but it's like there wasn't anything else that you could have come up with. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all.
All right. Any final thoughts?
Apocalypse matters more than you think.
Oh yeah, I agree. I said that it's a big change.
Yeah. JD is going to be building War Machine decks for the next 3 months. Right.
I was such a War Machine believer in the beginning. I made a really interesting like Quake War Machine Storm Galactus deck, and it was really fun to use.
They give Galactus a couple more power.
Yeah, maybe for the Fantastic Four movie. I'm praying.
We got a while before that one comes out. So.
All right. We good? Any final OTA thoughts? You have any patch change thoughts? Literally, I know things changed, and all I can remember is Moon Knight. And I already talked about the other thing.
Well, it was pretty interesting. The differentiating the cost, capital cost versus lowercase cost. I think that was a long time coming, and I think that ladders back to like there's a lot of like funky text, like behind the scenes tech stuff in Marvel Snap that I feel like they should just hire one guy to like go through all their text and like check the kerning and check all the interactions and check all that stuff. Because sometimes it's just, you expect something to do something and it doesn't. And they're like, no, that's supposed to work like that. And then like 3 months later, they're like, actually, we shouldn't have it work like that. And then they change it. I think it's nice that they're tidying this stuff up because it should be like known mechanics.
Yeah, forever. They were like, yeah, of course Luke and Shadow King work that way. Why would you ever think it doesn't? And then they're like, never mind, it shouldn't work that way.
I don't like
Luke. I think that's a bad change, by the way.
Yeah, I do too. And I love Shadow King, but like
me too.
What? How does that make? I think so. I don't know if you guys saw, but then Glenn said on Discord, like, "Oh, maybe we should change the language. Maybe we should use the word reset." Because right now, set something to base me. Right, we were just talking about this. It means something already. Valkyrie already sets things to something, and when you do that, now you expect the word set to mean something. So yeah, if you're going to change how that works for one card, you have to use a different word now. It has to say reset or wipe, or it has to use a word that doesn't already mean something in the game.
There are too few words that mean something in the game.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
what's the word on Zemo?
Recruit.
Like,
yeah.
Why the fuck doesn't Gladiator recruit? Why is it
So that is
recruiting.
that's wielding flavor for evil. That's wielding flavor wrong, right? So Zemo good
I
flavor
understand
was
what he's
Blob
doing,
couldn't
but
move
like,
because that's what Blob
but
does.
you added a fucking word that could do something in the like
Yeah.
game, and then they were just like, let's never use that again.
Yeah.
It's like, but you have all these other
They're
cards.
definitely
Like,
going to use it again. But
oh
like,
yeah, you have so much more.
I think they will.
Oh, Activate was already on a card, and then they changed it, and they're like, we're changing this because the word doesn't make sense, but secretly they're like creating
Yeah.
Activate.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that they will. Like, I think it's more of a like positive connotation, right? Like recruit, you get to keep that card. You know what I mean?
Like,
Like
comes to
versus,
your
then
side
it
of the
shouldn't have
board.
to say to
Yeah.
your side of the board. Just say
Mm.
recruit, and recruit means to your side of the board,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Versus
Right.
like this is not complicated. Like if I understand it, it's not.
I would
Okay.
love.
Hold
for
on.
them-
I actually want to say something really important here, Aaron. I really mean this with love. It is complicated. Like the thing is, like when you read game design theory, you like talk to game designers. It actually is way more complicated than those of us like sitting out here and like making an opinion about it, make it out to be. Like it's the same thing. Like when people say to
For
us
some
teachers,
things.
like the class, like things that like, why don't teachers do X in the classroom? And you're like,
No,
you
no, no,
motherfucker,
like-
do not know what you're talking
No,
about.
no, like nerfing
Like-
things and creating things, I totally get. Like having clean language
Mhm.
is like a thing I feel fairly empowered to speak on, given my actual job, right? Like, which is
Okay.
literally teaching people to write.
No, I agree. Teaching people to write professional and colloquial English, which is not game English.
Okay. I mean, it's a.
I was gonna say I'm a
It's
writer
right.
too, Glazer, and I was gonna say I would love for them to give me a flat fee, bring me into the office, and I'll just sit there all day and clean up all the text on all the cards.
Mhm.
It drives me up a wall sometimes. Even and that's why I love the cost differentiating, because thinking about when cost should be capitalized and not, and it wasn't.
Well, and then
Staring at that.
they immediately messed up one of the cards, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah, they were like, we're gonna change this in a second.
Fixed it, but not this one.
Of
Sorry.
course.
All
All right, we ready to move on to Deadpool?
Yes.
All right, JD, thoughts,
Actually,
feelings.
wait, I'm sorry, JD. I actually want to start with Roy because Roy doesn't hit infinite fairly often. Like he chooses not to push, and so he had a Deadpool design experience that I think is actually going to be really important to the framing of the rest of this discussion. Does that make
Okay.
sense to everybody? Right? Because like
Uh-huh.
a lot of what I've got a lot of comments about Deadpool's designer every day. And like, so we're going to start with Roy and then jump to JD. And like, I want to try and keep in mind how much of a grind, how much effort it took for Roy to get there, what he did.
Well, I mean, I'll let you on the secret. I am not there. I have not gotten Cassandra yet. I'm one away. Like I'm one
Million.
set of one reward tier. So I don't know how many exact millions it is, but one reward tier away from her. It's been fun. Like sometimes, like I think. Well, I have a lot of feelings about this. So when you're existing in this like middle realm and you like ping pong on bubs, it can get a little frustrating because it can get very slow to get back up to bubs where you're moving your progress towards your goal. Right? So like if you are, dropping so like below 1 million, right? It can sometimes get difficult to like make progress when you're trying to get to 15 million if you're starting with like 200,000 bubs, right? And then if you lose any big picture games, it can be feel very ping pongy. Like the reason, like I was making a very strong Cassandra push, and then I lost a gigantic game to a Magneto. I spent the whole game playing around a Red Hulk, and they Magnetoed me instead, and I lost by 1 point thanks to that Magneto, and lost like a lot of millions of bubs, and got really annoyed, and have not picked it up since then. I think that I came to appreciate that the fact that it locks your progress is really nice. So like if it does sort of allow you to sort of over time accrue the ball, like, it's not like a ladder where if you like are at 70 and you just get tilted and you fall to 30, you're at 30 when you are untilted and wake up in the morning. And you've lost like all of that progress. And the fact that there's these sort of tiers where it locks is also really nice. But I think at the end of the day, for me, the juice was not worth the squeeze for novelty. It was not different enough of a Marvel Snap experience for me to like want to invest the time to consistently get Cassandra. I say this now because I do really want Cassandra before it's over. So that probably means at the airport and this weekend in all of my sort of spare time, I'm going to be playing Marvel Snap. So that's sort of my general thoughts about Deadpool's Diner. For me, while I did have some good moments and some bad moments that I will remember about Marvel Snap, like that goddamn Magneto game that happened, I overall did not enjoy Deadpool's Diner, and I will be glad to see it gone, and I don't view it as a mode that I would like to see permanently come to Marvel Snap.
I would like to, unless you want to already answer that, Glazer. I have thoughts fresh in my mind that I might lose if I don't respond. So I come from I haven't done it in a long time, but I used to play poker professionally, and a lot of people right off the bat liked to compare Marvel Snap to poker just because of the cube and the betting system. But I always argued that it was never like poker, and it never could be like poker because people go all in on bullshit. Like they go all in on hands that would never ever win, and that's because there was no repercussion. Like yes, you can lose 8 cubes, but the repercussions in poker are you have to buy back in, or you can't buy back in because you're broke. And there's you never run out of cubes in Marvel Snap. You know, you can just buy, you can air quotes here, buy back in. Yes, it hurts. Yes, you might drop 30 ranks or whatever by going all in all the time, but you can never not buy back in. And I argued like it would never be like professional or real poker because there's really no repercussions for going all in on a stupid hand. And then Deadpool's Diner came out, and I think it finally added repercussions there and became a lot more like poker. And a lot of people aren't ready for that. And no disservice to you, Roy, but I'm assuming, I don't know much about you, but I'm assuming you're not a poker player, and unless you are, and you're about to correct me. But
I am, but I don't play Marvel Snap to play poker.
Yeah, it's a lot, especially like the auto snapping. Those are like the blinds, right? That's like you're paying the blinds and you're anteing up there, and you have to decide by turn 3. Like, no, I have the hammer. I have a 2/7 unsuited. I'm folding. I'm not going to stay in on this hand. I'm going to avoid paying a blind that I know that I'm going to lose. And Marvel Snap players don't think like that, right? They think like, well, what if I top deck Shang? Then I win. And you can't stay. What if I top deck the river, and get a full house? You can't play like that. You can't think like that. And I was playing Deadpool's Diner very conservatively at first, and I didn't want to. I every season I do a day 1 infinite push because that's like interesting content. But there was no way I was going to do a day 1 500 million bub push because I wasn't in the mindset of how to play Deadpool's Diner yet. And then once it finally clicked and I was like, oh my God, this mode is poker, I flew through the bubs and got all the way to the end, probably on day 3 because it finally clicked to me and I was able to play it like I channeled my old inner poker player and I was like, okay, this is it. This is like riding a bike to me. And I think a lot of the fan base or a lot of the player base doesn't get that, and B, that is an extremely, I don't know if the word's predatory, but it really pulls on the wrong strings of a certain type of play or a certain type of people, where if you don't get that, the game mode feels horrible. It just feels like every time you win, you're getting like a measly proportion of bubs, and every time you lose, you're losing everything, right? You lose every bub you have, and then you wait for the cooldown, and the cooldown is that buyback. Your buyback now is a time gated experience where unless you pay gold, now there's repercussions. Now you actually can't play anymore. Go sit in the corner. You're done unless you want to give us some money. So it's very interesting that Devil's Diner was finally like the poker mode that everyone expected, or thought Marvel Snap was, at least to me. And to Roy's point, I don't think it was worth the squeeze either. I think it was a different kind of experience. At the end of the day, we were promised a new game mode, and what we got was regular Marvel Snap, and nothing really was different about it other than the snapping, the snap strategy basically. But other than that, you were just playing ladder again. And I think for them to not only try to sell us another air quotes here new mode, but then that new mode only lasts 2 weeks, and then the new mode is gone for an indeterminate period of time. Hey, it's going to come back with a new coat of paint, but we don't know when, and we don't know what it's going to look like. I just don't understand what this big, this big reveal, this big game mode was, if it was going to be this temporary.
JD?
I did not play this. I sucked at Deadpool's Diner. I did not play this very efficiently. I did
Are
not
you
give
a
myself
poker player, JD?
I didn't give myself any time to learn how to do this. Like, I'm not a poker player. I stay away from gambling. Like, I have quite a addictive personality. And I was trying to play like conservatively at first, but then I was just like compelled to let's just go into the higher table this round, see what happens, and just kept doing that. And I had a good start, but then when I busted out, it was like, I played for like an hour and I had this much bubs. I busted out. If I pay 700 gold, I can have like 3 times the amount of bubs I had before. So I just did that over and over and over, and I finished it in the first night, and by the end of it, I realized I'd spent about 4,000 or 5,000 gold.
Oh my god. You are the core demographic.
They got me.
Deadpool's Diner, my friend.
You just
They got
funded
me.
the whole freaking mode. Which, look, I spent somewhere around 1,500. I think I spent 700 once or twice and 300 once or twice.
I spent 0, buddy.
Yeah, I was just impatient. I was like, I wanted to make the content, and like, I don't want to spend all my day grinding. I said last week, and it's only been reinforced by this conversation, that this is a mode made by people who really enjoy poker night, who are having a really fun poker night, and like, it's like second dinner employees playing poker and being like, why isn't Marvel Snap more like poker?
Yeah.
Why don't we have
one employee, one second dinner, I don't know if he was a dev or just part of the team or whatever, but someone asked him like, I forgot how they worded the question, but his answer was, Deadpool's Diner is my new favorite way to play Snap. And I kept asking, which was ignored, but I kept asking, isn't it just regular Marvel Snap? So that question was ignored. But to your point, Glazer, yeah, a lot of the dev team probably looks at this as like poker night with the boys, or poker night with the friend, the pals around the table.
So look, my climb was win a few games early. I was actually in JD's stream while I was playing. I won, I don't know, 3 or 4 games in a row. I got a decent stockpile, and then I lost all in one. I was like, well, that was stupid. So what I would basically do is I would play like smart and intelligently to get to a new band, a new breakpoint, and whenever I hit a new breakpoint, I would immediately go all in and either just jump to the next one, and then just fucking stop playing, or lose and then be done for a while. And I did that, and it took about a day and a half.
Yeah, there was this strategy that I was seeing early on for the people who didn't do it in one day, where they would get to a point, and then when they were done for the night, they would lose they would go all in and either win or lose all their bubs on purpose and be like, because I'm going to go to sleep and they're going to regenerate anyway.
Yeah, that's what I did.
I found myself, every time I ended my session, I found myself having more bubs than what would it regenerate. So I never got to take part in this go all in and lose all your bubs on purpose kind of strategy because it never really made sense for me.
I was trying to win. It was just I was staying no matter what because I knew that I was done with Marvel Snap.
No, yeah, it's a good strategy, but I always felt like it wasn't what I was supposed to do, unfortunately.
Yeah, look, the right way to do it. Lauren just stayed at one level throughout the whole 500 mil.
What was she? Ice cream or what was she at? Was it ice cream?
I don't remember the exact one, but she just did one level and treated it like she was climbing ladder, and managed to get everything. So there's a million strategies that work. My question is largely, is this fun? And is this healthy? And I think the answer is a fairly resounding no.
Yeah. I don't think... I think the biggest problem was how they pushed it and how they marketed it. I just don't think it can be called a new mode. It has a different coat of paint on it, but for them to say this is a new mode, I don't really get it. There's a nice reward track and you're playing kind of differently, but it's not like when they added the friendly battle and conquest mode, it was actually different. Now we are playing Marvel Snap. Now we have a health bar. Now there's rounds. Now you change your strategy a little bit. I just didn't feel like I was playing anything different when I was in Deadpool's Diner. I was just, playing Marvel Snap.
Okay. So, yeah, ultimately, all right, let's rate Deadpool's Diner as a mode A to F. We'll start with JD.
C.
Oh,
so nice. Pop out answer.
Well, I don't think I interacted with it in the best way, and so I think my opinion of it is maybe not the most valuable.
I don't agree.
I guess my experience with it, maybe.
I think your experience with it's extremely valuable. I think exactly your brain type is something that is important to keep in mind when we discuss these things. And you're not the only person, I promise you. You're not even close to the only person who said what you said to me.
Yeah. I think a lot of people did what you did, JD. I think they busted out, saw, especially because the Bub Mart was scaling with them. Mm-hmm. So eventually you got to a point where spending gold got you a crap load of bubs, and it made perfect sense to do it. And I think in the official video that Guest did, he recommends spending some gold early on to jump to the higher tables sooner. So I think a lot of people, watched that video and they had a couple 100 gold laying around, wanted to skip some tables, and then did exactly what you did and ended up, spending thousands of gold just to get to the card. Yeah.
And
that also gives you the rewards, right? If you buy bubs and it jumps you higher, it does give you the rewards, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm actually checking to see if I have enough gold to just spend my way to Cassandra right now.
So if you buy bubs, they add to your lifetime bubs?
Yeah.
Holy moly!
I believe so.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I believe that's literally what Cam did.
Wow.
Yep.
He just spent $100 and was just like, "This is my mode now." I have Cassandra notes so I can make content with it. But look, it's just...
Wait, so the leaderboard is just people buying bubs?
No, apparently there's quite a few people that have spent no bubs that just got high early and botted themselves into a bajillion. The utterly, and I'm just going to be completely honest, the utterly terrible Conquerors. Right. Where the top 4 managed to play 0 human beings the entire time.
Wow.
The good news is, yes, if I am close enough that if I do not get it, it will not cost me a huge amount of gold to just at the last minute.
I don't see why bots made sense in Deadpool's Diner, but they don't make sense in Conquest.
Because they wanted Conquest to be their competitive mode, they just fucked up. But
it's anything but.
Yes, but that was why it wasn't.
Infinity Conquest, I've faced people who have 600 collection level.
It's hilarious how ridiculous Infinity Conquest is depending on what time you play. You play at the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So I can't even imagine the people you're playing.
People that
So are we also can we talk about how
we didn't rate it? Okay.
Oh, real quick, I just want to say one thing about adding the profile button thing that they added. You now can tell who a bot is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because if they're playing well, okay, how am I put this? You can't guarantee that you know it's a bot. But if you're like on round 3 and they're playing like series 4 or 5 cards and you click profile and it says highest rank they've ever reached is Iron, like you're like,
Well,
this is highly likely not a human.
I think bots still can't have series 4 and 5 cards, right?
They definitely can.
Yeah, they definitely can. Yeah.
Really? I don't think
They tend to play outdated, like 2 meta ago decks, like Discard that's still playing America Chavez. Have you ran into those?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, sorry. I'll give my ranking. It's like a D plus C minus. On a creative level, like on the sense of like graphic design, it's like an A. I think it's like a super cool looking mode. And the theming is well done. With like it does lean into the Deadpool stuff well. I think at the end of the day, I was like down on the rewards track, but sort of like once I got into the swing of it, I think that the rewards track kind of like felt pretty decent. But for me, it's just doubling down on my least favorite mechanic in Marvel Snap, which is the snap mechanic. So
that's your least favorite mechanic?
Yeah, it's my least favorite mechanic. I like seeing the end of games. Like, why am I sitting here playing this game if the point of it is to try? It doesn't match the gathering brain.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, like I could always top deck the card I need to top deck, right? Like not my mediocre poker player brain. Like it's like my magic player.
I find myself playing other games and wishing I could snap.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's me. C minus D plus.
Yeah, I think I would give it a D. I think we were sold something, and I don't think we got what it was or what it could be, and just the way that you have to play. Again, I might not be using what I actually mean here, but the way you have to play is almost like way more toxic than the game should be. Like half your games, retreating on 3. Like yes, Marvel Snap, you're supposed to hedge your bets, and if they snap you on a turn where you don't have it, you should leave, and that isn't really a loss because you're leaving on your own terms, and you should consider it a win that you save the cube, blah 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 blah. But in Deadpool's Diner, you have to leave on 3 before an auto snap, before your opponent even tells you, hey, do you have it? Before your opponent even challenges you to have what you should, you have to leave because of a big blind or an ante up. And I don't know, it just seems like a very toxic way. You have to have like a very toxic strategy to manipulate and climb adequately in the diner.
So the mode itself is an F. The mode is a failure. It's not fun. People don't want to engage in it. The people who are doing it for the sheer number go up. It's kind of bullshit that way. However, as a way to give us a free card, I think it's like a B plus, because I think almost everyone who wants the damn free card should be able to get the damn free card. And I think there is a lot of value in that. And Cassandra Nova is a way better a card than I thought she would be in my wildest dreams. She's just an excellent card in a ton of different decks. So there's stuff to like here. But the game mode was shit. It just wasn't fun.
Yeah, I think if they experiment with more ways to, and obviously, hey, I want a free card, but what was cool about it was it unified, it became like a blip of engagement and activity for the community, that everyone was not only unlocking this free card together, but at different times. Mm-hmm. I think it was cool that people were getting it at different times, because if you're trying to get it and you ran into someone playing it, you got to see it in action, and the person playing it was able to flex a little bit and play the new card. And then it wasn't just on card release day, a new card comes out and just see it everywhere. And it's just after 3 hours, it's boring. Everyone's playing this card. So it was nice, little paced release almost. And I think one of the other failures was they want everyone to get this card, but they don't want everyone to get this variant. And they dangle the variant in front of you like, look, you're not getting this. Like, unless you're good at the diner and you know how to play and you're ready to either spend money or you can optimally climb the diner, you're not getting that variant. And the whole time they're like, the variant's not for everyone. Not everyone's going to get it, but they dangle it in front of you there. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just like the worst feeling if you know you're not going to, like, I can picture people on the last day, they have 14 million bubs. They're about to get the base card. They're never getting that variant. Like it kind of sucks.
But like, as long as they get the base card, what I'm really worried about is the people who are like really close. They're at 14 million bubs and they're about to get the variant, and then they bust, and there's not 8 hours left.
Yeah.
If there's 14, if they're like that close, they can spend like 300 gold. And
I mean, yes, but they fucking better, right? Like, you better have 300 gold.
Well, there might be some people out there who are really, really close, and they don't know that. I didn't know that the gold added to lifetime bubs. I bet there's. I mean, what we have to talk about is the how to play screen. Have you guys looked at the how to play?
No one looked at that. That was impossible to read.
It's impossible. It doesn't tell you how to. It doesn't tell you anything.
It doesn't. No,
they're not instructions. They're just like little flavor bits.
They barely got the mode out the door in time, and they didn't have time to build a tutorial.
Yeah, it does not tell you how to play.
Because they didn't they were like, oh, everyone knows how to play Marvel Snap, and like, anyone who doesn't get it is more money for us.
I think the first instruction is we use bubs instead of cubes, and like that sentence right there, I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know what that means.
Again, it does.
Bubs aren't a physical object. It doesn't even make sense.
Also, it sometimes. It just feels like the Marvel HQ said all license holders must produce a Daredevil and Wolverine tie-in.
Mm-hmm. Deadpool,
because this is going to be the Deadpool. Excuse me. This is going to be the most successful R-rated movie of all time. So, like, I mean, you Marvel Snap, just like Rivals, just like Marvel Champions, just like every Marvel license holder has to pump out the content. But all right, we ready to talk about alliances, friends?
Yes.
Yeah, from negative to positive. Let's go.
All right. So, JD, what are your sort of thoughts and feelings about alliances? How is organizing them going? What's been your approach? What's been your group's approach? General thoughts.
So I've ended up in an alliance with a bunch of EU players, a bunch of people that I play against regularly on ladder that I've been speaking to for the first time, which is really cool. Some of them, I've had them muted for the longest time because we were just emoting each other all the time, being really toxic. And now I'm actually becoming friendly with them. So yeah, I think it's been a really positive add to the game.
Interro.
I think it's a great addition. It added something to do because these bounties are unlimited. It adds something to constantly do where when you're done with your quests and you're just grinding a mode, sometimes it feels super pointless to be playing. But I think it's great bones, and I think there's a lot to be done, and I think there's a lot to add. I think the chat, I'm sure it's a great milestone for them to add chat functionality to the game, but it needs some work. The Snapbot flooding the feed. I don't know if you guys are in third person.
You could turn that off, right?
Yes, but it shares achievements too. I just won an Infinity Conquest 2 days ago, and the Snapbot tells you,
and your whole alliance follows your Twitter. It's
no, but and then someone in my alliance also did, and told me, and I was like, "Whoa, dude, congrats!" That's a really cool thing that the Snapbot can share. I don't know what else it shares. I don't know if it shares if people hit infinite or things like that. But I don't want to miss those milestones for my guys. I want to say hey, congrats, that's really cool. But instead, I'm flooded with 8 cube proving ground win decks.
Well, but you know what they can do? Turn off the bot and be like, hey, if you achieve something in Snap, say it. You don't need a bot to fucking do that. Hey, I just won.
I like the bot.
No, you don't.
Glazer, you need the person to fucking do the 6 keystrokes it takes to go and open the chat. So I need to win my game, click all the thumb, and then click on alliances, click on the chat button, type my thing instead of having a bot that just says to my friends. And then when I remember, or I go to update the 7th discard based achievement that I have to do, I will then be like, click on the chat and be like, oh, Glazer, won an infinite ticket. That's so exciting. Congrats, Glazer.
All I'm saying is the bot could have some filters, and I would immediately filter out 8 cube Proven Garum deck wins. I don't care about that. I want to see everything else, though. But the reward, you want to talk about negative to positive? The negative is the rewards. The rewards are laughable. I cannot believe. I cannot believe. Not only are they laughable, but they get sent to your inbox at the end of the week. That's the stupidest thing. I can't complete. I can't get my measly 100 credits right here when I complete it. Like, it's so stupid that you have to wait for everything. I can only imagine. I can see it now that each one of these rewards are going to be individual things in my mailbox too. So I'm going to have like 9 things in my mailbox at the end of the week.
Oh yeah, they definitely
are. I don't understand. I don't know why they did that. But yeah, I think the bones are there. I think this is the most interesting thing they've added to the game so far. So I really hope that they keep iterating on it and adding things to it and refining it. Organizing and running them, terrible. That's even below the rewards.
Sir,
I cannot believe
you need models in your life.
What was that?
Models has done a lot of really good work.
Models in your life. Models is like some people stand on the shoulders of giants. I stand on the shoulders of models. We've got 11,
being behind the scenes. Yes, he does.
11 fucking alliances, and like models and gun. Models did the first like 7, and then models and Gunny figured out how to like automate the process for the last 4, and like.
I mean, I had a process set up, and it's pretty automated. I have 4 other captains. I have 5 alliances, and all I did was send them like a little cheat sheet. Here's the labels you have to use. Here's how to set everything up, and that was pretty automated, and that was easy. But now, like, I can't, like, they're siloed, right? Like, I don't know what's going on. I check them periodically, but I have 5 30 out of 30 alliances. I'm gonna randomly go check, in an hour, and one of them is going to say 29 out of 30, right? And I don't know who left. I don't know why. I don't know if my captain knows. I don't know if they're looking for someone already. I don't know if recruitment is open. It's just like, I wish there was like an umbrella, like they could have made like an umbrella alliance. First of all, they could have just made more members. But if they didn't want to do that, they could have made like some kind of umbrella alliance and have all these sister alliances under it. And the admin of the umbrella should be able to peek into each one of them or something like that. So again, I'm armchair deving. I understand that. I'm sure they can't just add all this new functionality, and that's why it is the way that it is. But they should have known that 30 wasn't enough, and people were going to
30 is
find a way around that. And
so, but they don't care if we found the way around it. 30 is enough because they want smaller alliances to exist. They want person who's not engaged in our communities, who's playing and like wants their like 3 friends to play, to be able to be in their own alliance, and then like maybe they get 4 or 5 other people. They want your fantasy baseball league or fantasy football league to be able to.
Sure, but there's no way that a small alliance of 7 people are doing any of these weekly achievements.
I mean, oh no, they won't be able to get 300 extra boosters. Look, the achievements, I don't actually care about the achievements. Like, I don't care about the rewards. It'd be nice if they were either more or just required less work, or scaled with the number of people in the alliance. I'm fine with any of those.
Yeah, I think the scaling would have been the best thing.
Ultimately, it's just giving us something else to do in the game. And we haven't had anything else to shake up what we do in the game in so long. Do you have any fucking idea how long it's been since I played a Destroy deck?
Yeah, I never play those.
I've got so many Destroy games in the past 3 days, and like, I'm good at Destroy. I didn't know I was good at Destroy. How the fuck would I know I'm good at Destroy? Shit is boring. But when I'm getting the extra little like endorphin hit of like, ooh, I cleared a bounty, then all of a sudden, like, it's worth doing the extra little bit of Destroy bullshit. I now have in my decks, and like, God, if I want one thing for this, it's just give me more deck slots. All the other changes can wait.
Oh yeah.
Just give me deck slots, because, well, now I have a deck that's destroy, a separate deck that's destroy 8, a deck that's move 7, a deck that's discard, and a deck that's fill every spot. Now I've got like 6 decks just dedicated to this shit. Like, I need more deck slots because that's going to drive me crazy. But outside of that, like, I just think this is like the biggest win.
I understand what you're saying about, like, who cares if you don't get the boosters, and yes, it's just more free stuff, right? So it feels weird to complain about, hey, it's just additional stuff. But I think the overarching sentiment is that whenever they add something or whenever they hype something up, it's 30 boosters or the sentiment equivalent of 30 boosters. So like having these 30 people alliances and everyone's working towards these goals, and the goals are, you know, divvied up amongst all the alliance members. They made it sound like it was going to be all these crazy prizes and achievements and things that you're going to share with each other, and then it turns out to be 30 boosters. Like, it's just the stingy mentality that oozes into all of the things that they try to add to the game. And yes,
Sure.
I'm complaining about free additional stuff.
Sure.
I understand that.
I get
But
it.
it's
I
just
wish
the
they were better
sentiment.
too.
It's just the
But like,
sentiment.
but the sentiment is, this is fun, right? Like, I don't need my fun to like have capitalistic rewards to have fun. Like,
Yeah, and
yes,
I'm having a
I would
blast.
like
I'm
more
having a
stuff.
lot of
Like,
fun.
as long as it's fun, I don't like. Yeah, the extra rewards would be nice, but like, would it kill them? Like, they're gonna change the rewards every week. There'll be enough of a backlash that they're probably gonna make them somewhat decent. And if
Yeah,
they
like what
don't,
happened with the Spotlight Weekend reward tokens.
yeah, those were always stupid. But like, they're like, so the problem with that is those are a consistent reward for only whales who don't need the reward. Right? They're not trying to, like, for the people who get 1 card a month, it's a meaningless amount.
That's what
The
it turned
people who-
into, but that's not what
well,
they said it was at
but
first.
it doesn't
They said
matter. It's like, so if it were a
of
meaningful
course
amount,
it matters. What do you mean it doesn't matter?
no, it only matters to like the minnow. It doesn't matter to the whale. If you get every card anyway, you have enough resources to get every card anyway. Like, them giving you more tokens doesn't actually accomplish anything. And if you're only getting 1 card a month, they're not going to give you weekend missions with your 1 card a month enough to get a 2nd card a month. That's a terrible business decision for them.
Well, that's a terrible business decision that they said was they were going to do when they made them.
I mean, yeah, but no, you still believe them for things. Oh man, it is.
Do I believe them, or am I the only person trying to hold them accountable?
I mean, sure, but like, okay, they're going to make a bunch of decisions that are going to be, how do we make more money? Like, we can start, like, you can try and hold them accountable for that, like, but like, that's just the known fact. They are trying to make as much money as possible in the game. You can like that,
Wait,
hate that.
what?
I don't really
Really?
care. Well, but
Dang!
most of the time when they do that, they don't give us anything fun to do in the process.
Yeah,
This is the first time since
it's very fun.
Conquest ? That they've put something in the game that, sure, they're being cheap. That is actually fucking fun. Be cheap. Find us fun shit to do.
It is very fun. It is.
I want fun shit to do. You give me fun shit. Like, I'm playing Patriot and discard and destroy decks like I'm fucking early in Series 3. Like, I mean, it's killed my rank. I had to like
Series 3.
Same.
I went yeah, I
My wife
climbed
actually
up
just
to the top
became-
500 again, and then did a bunch, and then looked up, and I was like, oh, I'm 1,100. Shit.
My wife just completed Series 3 at a 5,600 collection level.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's wild. It's like, that's a double, right? What it was for us?
I think I went way back when. I think I completed it at like 3,600 maybe.
I think it was about
Yeah,
the
that
same
sounds
for
about
me.
right.
Wait, what were you, JD?
About 30 odd hundred.
Okay. Yeah, so almost done. That's wild. Like, look, they are greedy and shitty. And they should definitely treat us better. But, like, they're not gonna. Sorry to break it to you.
Sweet.
Like, just no. Like, I would like them to. Just, like, if you're going to be stingy. And like, it doesn't, none of their penny pinching matters to me. I am content creator, resource man, right? So I'm clearly not worried personally. But like, give me fun things to do in the game. And then like, when you want to charge me and be cheap, I'm not as angry about it because you've actually given me something fun to do rather than watching my little infinite number go up or my infinite borders or tickets or whatever go up. Like, you give me things to do in the game and I won't mind that you're trying to charge me for it. It's when you're just like, don't you want these cool new things that don't affect gameplay at all and you already have everything? I'm like, no, I want fun things to do. This is a fun thing to do.
I do fear to the point that I'm trying to make. I do fear that the alliances are fun right now because we're so content starved and it's new and it's interaction with other players and there's chat and all that. But and so in the flagship alliance that I have some serious grinders. I have some people who are at like 20k points already. How sustainable is that? You know, if at the end of the week they get, you know, the mystery variant and they open a pixel, how many weeks are they going to do that before they're like, I'm not grinding this anymore, or I don't even want to be in an alliance anymore? Like, it just makes me feel bad. So that's where I worry it could go unless they keep this updated. I'm shouting this right now. Don't treat it like Conquest where you didn't update it since release. You know, please keep looking at it and making it better. And this is a great start and everyone loves it, but don't forget about it.
Don't you?
I mean, I hope they add a little bit more variety to the challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Like,
Yes,
it does feel
definitely.
like every other one is
Move 7.
move 7, destroy, or discard. Also,
Play
like,
cards you don't want to play.
yeah, I like the like single card ones because it like gets me to dust off an archetype that like I might not play a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But like when it's like Kingpin and Nightcrawler, it's like, why would I put like
because Arishem.
I guess. But does it count? Does I guess I could put them in my Arishem deck.
You put them in your Arishem deck, and then you just, it's not.
Yeah, that's fun. Like that, I'm less fond of.
I haven't done that yet, but it's doable.
It's definitely doable.
I did Patriot and Squirrel Girl. I was just like, all right, cool. I'll play a Patriot Squirrel Girl deck. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, like I wish, like I like those, and like it, and just a little bit more variety would be like, I feel like one challenge for every single card should exist would be one thing I would say. Like, you know, instead, so like at any time it could just be like, play Misty Knight. So all right,
well,
whip out your Haivo deck list.
It'd also be really nice if it was like do things to or with card. Misty Knight gives 3 power in a game. Deadpool gets destroyed 3 times in a game. Stuff like that would be extremely cool.
Yeah, I think if it's a card that is specific, it does its specific thing. Yeah.
Yeah, look, you can't do that with every card in the game, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
Like at Apocalypse to 20 power.
That's my main complaint. Like, I played a good amount of it the first day it came out. I was like enjoying it, but then it like got tiresome. It was like, do I really want to play discard again? Because those are kind of the most interesting options here. And I was like, do I? Well, maybe now that Apocalypse has been buffed, I do. But
yeah, and one thing I don't think a lot of people know is that the bounties are shared amongst all the people in the group, and then you pick your ones from there. So a lot of the like bad ones just sit there for ages.
Oh, that I did not know, JD.
Yeah,
wow,
we had,
that
like 4 Valkyrie bounties that
it's
no
like
one
a
was picking up.
Pool, that people pluck from.
oh, wow, it's truly like the, what's that philosophical problem? Like the something of the commons, where it's like everybody's divided, like taking the best things for themselves and leaving the shit for everyone else.
And then you also, I think you only get 3 rerolls, so it becomes a game of who's going to take it to re-roll it. So just that it's out of the it's out of the group pool.
I'm telling you, just Arishem exists. Make your life easy.
True.
Arishem Proving Grounds, have a great day.
I don't want to play Proving Grounds in the last week of the season.
Well, it's only the last week of the season for 1 week of the season, so it'll be fine every other week.
It's true.
I've been playing a reasonable amount of Proving Grounds just because no one was taking the win 8s, and I was like, I'll just go test my deck's improving grounds. All right.
All right.
We good?
All right. We time to dig into the full content of this episode, which is talking about the latest spoiled cards from the miscellaneous Venom character season that we're getting just in time for Venom 3. None of these characters are likely to appear in Venom 3, but we are getting a Venom month in honor of Venom 3. So let's start with the season pass card, Agent Venom. All right, who is a 2/4? Ooh, spicy. All right. On reveal, set the power of all cards in your deck to 4. JD, thoughts, feelings about, I don't know which version of Agent Venom this is supposed to be, but
the Crossbones
Flash.
version.
It's Flash. Agent Venom is Flash, yeah.
I thought
Looks
there was
exactly
another
like
Agent
Crossbones to me.
No, he's the only Agent Venom.
Okay. So what do you think about Venomized Flash Thompson here?
It looks good. This is a season pass card, right? I've not looked at any of these cards.
Well, you're about to get a crash course, my friend.
Yeah, seems good. Seems like a good season pass card.
What do you play it in?
Do not say Cerebro.
You can. I just don't think you should.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
It counters Cassandra Nova in
Yeah.
Cerebro. That?
I think its greatest strength is that it's a 2 cost. That's insane.
Yeah.
I think setting power. Valkyrie is already incredibly strong. This one's a little weaker but cheaper. So this is going to definitely tear up the ladder when it comes out.
Where? How?
Just as a disruption tool, you're going to play this in ongoing.
No, it only works on your stuff.
Yeah, but you can get a 4-power Iron Man. You can get there's incredible stuff you can do with this, especially if you play it on 2 and you change your whole deck.
It's best for your deck, right?
Yeah,
and 2/4 is a lot better stats than 1/1.
Oh yeah.
Roy?
For me, I think this card's super interesting. I think it does have a pretty high deck building cost that's sort of like Bass doesn't necessarily have, right? Like you don't want to be running Magneto because a 6/4 Magneto is not super.
That you also don't run Bass.
Yes, I know.
Magneto decks.
You know what I mean? Like I think Zoo is another deck like that seems to me that this would be pretty good in, right? Where you have some utility 1-drops, like a 1/4 Ant-Man that gets his bonus, right? Or
Surfer.
What's the other one that I'm thinking of? Some other like low cost cards like Dazzler, right? What I think that, and like a Blue Marvel, right? That is a 5/4 and gives +1 to all of your stuff is like pretty powerful. The 5 like Iron Man. So I think like a Zoo deck that's running a little bit of the top end is pretty powerful, right? Like a Mystique that has the ongoing and is also 4 base power, right? I think that so like maybe it's a Patriot as well. Like I think that this is kind of good in those lower to the ground. I don't know if aggro is the right way to describe like what the right Marvel like snap deck terminology is, but these sort of like low to the ground decks. I think that this is a super cool card, and like I've been asking for sort of like different cards besides Gilgamesh for those kinds of decks. And sort of like to sort of diversify like how they can be built. And I think that Agent Venom is definitely a step in the right direction. And I'm kind of excited to see like what it does for those decks besides Cerebro 4, which I really do hope goes from like meme to dream with this card.
I think this is going to be bad. Sorry. I changed my mind since literally yesterday. And I think this is going to be bad because almost every time something affects the deck, it sucks. We just lived through Fastos. Right? Like, Fastos +2 is basically setting almost all the powers to 4 or more.
4 is a
Or
lot different
and
than
negative 1 cost is better than setting it to 4. And yes, this is on a 2/4 body. So this is hope is that being played a turn earlier on a better body makes it good. And this is like literally the only symbiote I like.
I think Fastos
card
would be pretty
character.
good as a 2-drop.
Yeah, sure, maybe. Hard to say until we actually say it. I thought, you know what? I thought Fastos was going to be pretty good as a 3-drop.
I also thought that too. So,
and I was wrong. So maybe this being a 2-drop makes all the difference in the world. But like, you know, it is a 2-drop that gives +1 to your whole deck when you play it.
+4 is a lot different than +1.
But it might not be +4. It's +4 for like 2 or 3 cards that you have to hope to have not drawn, and then it's +1 or 2 for other cards, right? This is probably decent because they don't usually release terrible season pass cards, but I'm less sold that this is anything more than decent. I hope I'm wrong, but like, especially again, like as far as symbiote characters, Agent Venom is literally the only symbiote character I like. So that like this is the one that I don't think is going to be good, and I think like literally every single other card we're going to talk about is somewhere between great and completely fucking insane. So, but I don't think Agent Venom is very good.
all right, I think we talked out Flash here. Let's move on to Scream, who, if those of you who played the Spider-Man 2 game, should be familiar with her. So Scream is, like everything, a big bad. She's a Series 5 6K tokens card. All cards are Series 5 big bads now. She's a 2/1, and she has the ability, when an enemy card moves, steal 2 power from it once per turn.
Finally, a move counter.
Is that your take,
Like, move has
Interrobang?
been so good that you need that counter. It's been
Slash
good for
S.
like a week and a half. And he's like,
Slash S,
counter it.
please, guys.
And like Kingpin is sitting somewhere being like, you know what? That hurt. That was hurtful. Finally, a move counter. Like I haven't existed this whole time.
I was being sarcastic.
Cards being able to move are, I think, is a really like strong effect, but it's not often like the best thing to do in the game.
This card you think is not very good?
No, I think talking about like move cards in general, like we're in like a meta right now where like the move cards are really good, but it's not often that that's like the best thing to do.
Yeah,
I think
so I guess you're doing like Polaris, Juggernaut stuff with this.
But this is in a world that's after Madam Web, right?
Yeah, Madam Web should be everywhere.
Like, I think there's some powerful move cards, and like, I mean, Madam Web is one of the most powerful move enablers they've ever printed, right? So I think that this card might be like an attempt, you know, like it's kind of like an older school card design attempt. It's like you have 1 month of a busted, you know, like up the power of move a lot. Next month,
Arishem to Cassandra Nova.
Yeah, like kind of thing. Yeah. And like that's kind of like what this is, because this is going to be the same week as Agent Venom, right? So it's the first week.
And Madam Web is, I believe, week 1 or 2. But hang on, let me quickly say what Madam Web is for anyone who's not as obsessive as we are. Madam Web is a 2/3 ongoing. You can move a card away from here once per turn. So, like, once per turn, 1 card at her location that's obviously under your control, you can move anywhere you want. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So Scream will be the Carnage's Cafeteria card that season.
Yes, it is. Carnage's Cafeteria. There we go. That sounds like a nightmarish theming, but it fits Halloween, I guess.
Yeah, this is obviously on Halloween for a reason. But like, hey, this card's way stronger than y'all are giving credit for. But you know what word's not on this card that would make it terrible that's not here?
Here.
There's no here. Anytime any fucking card moves, are you kidding me? Like, I can run Juggernaut, I can run Polaris, I can run Arrow, I can run Magneto, I can run, like, but even if you only manage to get 1 move, right? Like, the opponent plays Jeff and tries to get Jeff into that location. Jeff is now a 2/1, this is a 2/3. This with 1 move is a 2/5. And with 2 moves is a 2/9.
That's even better if it gets Agents Venomed in your deck and you draw it. So there you go.
It's true. Or you can bast it, or forge it, or But like,
well, yeah, okay, fortune, yeah.
But it's once per turn.
Sure,
this is
yeah.
like a lot
You
of
could
times.
fast
2/2. Yeah, you could sherry it. It could become a 2/2.
So, a thing that the game I think would benefit from, and you can disagree if you want, but a thing I think the game would benefit from is more little cards like this that scale and enable different archetypes. Think Thena, Angela, Morbius,
Little engines.
whatever. Yeah. This is a little engine for a deck that didn't have one. Like, we know that like small mid-range shit can work and is often fun, right? But like, there's only a few of those cards in the game, and I think Scream can be one for a like move your opponent's stuff deck.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh man, Spider-Man. Like, not only do I drag it, I also get,
Yeah, it's not where it wants to
power
be.
out of the drag. This is legit, I'm pretty sure.
It's definitely extremely powerful, and I think we were talking about like how can you print Madam Web? That's the card I'm thinking about all the time when I was going over this in preparation for the show. For me, it's just I think this is a powerful answer card that also serves as an enabler, as Glazer put out, for sort of a move your shit archetype that is like kind of a deck, right? Juggernaut has really come into his own as a competitive card over the last few months. So yeah, I'm excited for this card.
Second dinner, don't nerf it before release. I'm so worried that
it's going to become here. It's going to become here.
I just don't want it to be a 3. Like, I don't want it to be here, and I don't want it to be... If it's here, it's dead. It's a useless card. But, like, I also just don't want it to be 3. Like, this is a 3-2 or 3-3 is so much worse than this a 2-1. Like, we need 2 cost enablers. Like, if you won't let 2 be the, like, universal tech cards like they were, then give us some 2-point, like, scalers that matter.
Well, another card is good with a 2-cost scaler. It's not this one, though.
Oh, okay. That doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, go ahead.
We'll get to it in a second. It's the next one, I think. All right. So, Misery is our next big bad over here at that 6K token stuck in Series 5 card. She's a 5/10. I also have no idea who this character is. Like, this shows you how little I care about the Venom universe.
Stephen King novel, broke his knees.
Yes. I do know that novel. I have read that novel and seen the movie. Thank you. But yeah, sure. On reveal, repeat the on reveal abilities of your other cards here, then destroy them. All right, JD, what do you think about this card?
This seems kind of good.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, like you pair this with like anything on reveal, basically.
Shuri.
Yeah. Well,
oh my
yeah,
God.
Shuri into
silly.
this.
I didn't even think of that.
Shuri into this, into Tribunal. Boom.
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi. Shadow King.
Yeah.
Fucking Beast. If Beast is the bottom card under there, right? Like, Beast is going to bounce back everything.
Does he bounce the Misery back too?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is just like, look, sometimes that's going to fucking be awesome.
Sure.
White Widow. This on White Widow seems really good.
Yeah.
Hilarious against goblins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just going to blow them up, right?
Yeah. Like, even if you can't send them back, just blows them up.
Well, no, doesn't it send them back?
It sends them back and then they blow up.
But then they blow up on the other side, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to be...
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking about like zone changes, changing the nature of cards in other card games.
Yeah.
How does
Black Widow,
yeah,
Korg, a Rock Slide, like, pick a card. Like, 80% of on reveals aren't amazing bodies. That's not what they're there for.
White Tiger.
White Tiger.
Yeah, White Tiger. Strength pumpers are the other, like...
Doesn't work great with Wong, though.
Does not.
They blow up and they don't get the second trigger. Is how I would
Yeah.
assume that works.
Yeah, I wonder how that. Actually, that's more of a like day one. Like, let's see what happens with if we put Misery as our Odin in the Wong lane, and what happens. That'd be
Yeah.
interesting to
The
see.
White Tiger would trigger twice again, but then like Odin would trigger again, but this time there's nothing to trigger.
Right.
Misery can't do
Right.
anything after that first time.
But she
still-
doesn't destroy the Wong, correct?
No.
Right. So, okay.
And so, yeah, any deck that you can just choose what on reveals to play is pretty happy. I don't know. I feel like I like this a fair amount on a Hood.
Hood. Yeah, Hood's a really good one.
This card is fucking awesome. You could just play it and destroy, right? Like, you're happy to re-trigger a Deathlock or a Carnage or whatever. I mean, it's going to blow up your Misery, but that's what Cull is for.
But doesn't it also though blow up your Carnage?
Yep. Yeah, it's going to blow up all your shit. Just don't do it to Venom.
I feel like this isn't necessarily just unless you're like all in on Null, which can sometimes be risky.
Mhm.
I've seen a lot of thanks to that destroy achievement thing. I've been seeing a lot of Super Scrolls that have stolen my my Null's ongoing when I've been playing the destroy deck.
It's lame. This card is fun. I don't think it's as good as the last card, but it's fun.
It's definitely fun and it's unique. It's super interesting card.
Any other thoughts about this one, guys? Ellis? Friends? Folks?
Interrobang, you got anything for us?
Interesting stat line. The 5/10. It seems so powerful, and then it has 10 power too.
Yeah, it's Dr. Octopus.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You could play this on Dr. Octopus.
You could pull out another of their cards.
And
Wow.
then you pull out the
Up your
Shang the
8
second
by 8
time.
power card.
And you probably, yeah, that's how it's the Shang-Chi. Because Shang-Chi, it's power, right? So that's just, yeah. right.
Gladiator's not great. Yeah, but whatever.
All right, this is the card I was talking about, a scaling 2-drop's best friend, which is Collector's best friend. Scorn, another Venom character. I have no idea who the hell Scorn is. All right,
That's
is
Techno Venom?
Techno Venom,
I
sure.
have no idea. It looks like it's technological. This is what I'm going
Is a 1/2. Again, Series 5. One of those big bads. What does our 6K tokens get us? When you discard this, give its power to one of your cards in play. Return this to your hand with +1 power. Wow. Interrobang, what you got for us about
This is
This.
one of the most interesting cards in a long time that they've designed. I hope that nothing changes about it.
Mhm.
It's almost like I think hand buff in Marvel Snap is just way too slow. You can't other than like Gwenpool, which is just barely like getting by. The Nakias and the just anything that gives your hand power just seems too slow to really get rolling. But this seems like what Meek is finding his own place now, but this seems like what Meek should have been to really enable discard. This seems crazy. The fact that it gives it to something in play already, it lets you be so agile, right? It doesn't let you. So hand buff, you have to go all in on the hand buff, and then now you're not playing the things that you're trying to buff, right? But now you're able to play the cards that you want, where you want them, when you want them, and then you can either buff Scorn and start giving things +4 or +6 or whatever it is that she gets, or you can just keep giving them +2 over and over. You can keep.
No. She's not giving them +2 over and over again. She's giving them, I believe,
No, the next time is
+2 once,
+3.
then it's
Oh,
+3,
yeah.
and it's
It's
+4.
it's
then
additive
+5.
every time.
Yeah. This card is awesome, man. I love this card.
Yeah, I guess you just have to. Would this be like more of a build around card?
Oh yeah. So now,
Like, as opposed to
especially
just
with the
putting it
new
in-
Moon Knight and the
Mhm.
new
Moon Knight
stuff
doesn't
like
work
that.
with Scorn.
Oh right, is odd. But
Hell
yeah,
card.
there's a bunch of stuff you can do with this.
Yeah, I think traditional discard has kind of felt one like hand enabler short, right? Like, if you didn't, like, sometimes you get into the situation where like you don't draw your swarm, you don't draw your apocalypse, right? Like you need something to like be in your hand to constantly trigger your MODOK is just literally discarding your entire hand and hopefully you draw something playable, right? Like this for the like MODOK decks having like a third hit, and particularly one that like, because one of the things, right, about discard card, right, traditional discard is also it's like power output is pretty predictable, right? Like you have to play the collector or the Morbius, right? And you kind of know that's where the power is going to be, but this can just sort of buff your blade, buff your calling, buff your Hellcal, just like randomly, like making it the deck like power output much less predictable is really helpful for that deck and makes it harder to play against. And I just think like, again, a third MODOK payoff is like super, 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 super good. And I'm really excited for this card. This is the card I'm most excited for this month. I'm interested to see also like what it does for like Gambit style combo decks, right? The Gambit decks that, like just discard him, this comes back, discard, kill, discard, kill, right? So you now have 3 of those, right? And it's definitely a card I'm super interested to see like what it does for those effects now that we have 3 permanent hand like cards that this hit. So like I was super bullish on Proxima. I was too bullish on Meek, but I think Scorn is one of the most exciting discard cards printed since that golden discard month of Proxima Cull. I'm really excited for this card. This is definitely besides the Agent Venom, this is the one I'm like guaranteed to buy, either open for or just purchase with 6K tokens.
You can Agent Venom this card.
Yeah, you can Agent
JD?
Venom.
Okay.
Does this go in the discard, like the current discard deck?
It goes in the older one, I think, the one that ran Silver Samurai and Dakin.
I guess the question is how many times do you discard this? Because you don't want to lean into it too much, right?
Sure.
So you get very hard.
so like cards you already want to play in that deck, right? Colleen, this is a good backup hit for Colleen, right? Besides Swarm, she's a good.
I guess I was
she's like a
stuck
help
on like this or Swarm.
Yeah. But I think you would play it with Swarm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't think so.
You don't think so? You don't want 3 repeatable hits?
So in some versions I do. But a lot of what my problem with Swarm has been since America's nerf, way back when, December, whatever it was, is that very often you want to MODOK on 6, and you cannot MODOK on 6 if you've got Swarm out. Now you're stuck MODOKing on 5, and sometimes you don't have the exact cards you want or the exact setup you want on 5. And then you don't have anything to do on turn 6, right? Like, I think Scorn fundamentally takes care of that problem. I think sometimes, like, look, Swarm might be too good to cut, but I can see a version that runs that. I could also see a version that just sort of, like, forgoes all that bullshit and goes all in on Collector, Scorn, like, Moon Girl, Helicarrier type bullshit, and just says, we're going to get big that way, and, like, Apocalypse is a backup. Like, there's a lot of options with this card. Like, a lot of options with this card.
I like that. I think I gravitate towards that version more. The collector one.
If you can get out a collector with this and like you can run the silly shit like Corvus Glaive, right? That's been getting cut more and more, and just be like, all of my shit is cheap, so when I play this card, all I'm trying to do really is just re-trigger things.
It does have the Hella variance almost, where it's like you're not choosing where that buff is going. So if you have too many cards on the board, or if you want it to land, if you need it to land on a specific thing, that might be Because at first I'm like, how's this card not going to get nerfed? But I guess that's how it doesn't get nerfed, right? Is that
a thing you can do on turn 6 as well is on turn 6 you can just play this and Modok.
mm-hmm.
Like if this is a 1-4, 1-5, right? Like you're perfectly fine to just be like, I just played a 13 power thing.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
true.
I still have my Apocalypse to get Dracula discarded at the end of the game. While putting my whatchamacallit, my Proxima into play, or my Wolverine or whatever into play.
Definitely.
Like you can throw a Gwenpool on this, and then you can Modok on 5, right? Like,
oh my god, I love this card.
yeah, great card.
It's a very cool card.
Almost the best card. Almost the best card of the month.
Yeah, for real.
We got another. I assume you think the last card is the best card of the month?
I don't know what order they are. Any final thoughts on Scorn?
It's cracked.
All
this
right.
is my favorite card of the month. Are you insane? How is this not my favorite card of the month? I'm cutting you off.
It is
I'm reading
not
this.
Scarlet Spider. It is Toxin.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how to write things. I want to read Toxin.
Okay, you can read Toxin.
So I copied this from my initial, like the second after the Datamines came out, and I rushed to do a video slideshow. So like this was me trying to fly through making this content as quickly as possible. All right, so Toxin is a bounce card. 3/2 on reveal. Return your other cards here to your hand. +2 power for each return. So that is a 3/8 that bounces.
That's some beast power creep, huh?
Nah, still not as good as Beast. It's not as good as Beast.
I mean, you still play Beast in the deck, right?
Yes. But I think it's Falcon power creep, but like Falcon also still has uses. I am in love with the idea of this specifically with Grandmaster. I played Beast Grandmaster a lot, and Toxin Grandmaster to have like a 16 fucking power Toxin seems absolutely completely crazy to me.
Which lane with Grandmaster, does it return the lane it starts or the middle lane?
It would return the middle lane.
Middle lane, okay. Because it moves then triggers? Is that the way it works?
Move then trigger.
Okay.
Which is just like, I could have a 316. I could just have a 316 and then I've got all my ones and demons.
In that case, it's a 516, but yes.
Sure. Okay, I'll play a 516. Get twisted.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying. You have to,
but like, yeah, and then I've still got Beast, and I can do all my other Beast shenanigans, and like, I've still got my Werewolf by night. Like, yeah,
Bounce is already good.
Yeah, nope. This is like Bounce does not need this right now, but I'll take it.
Yeah,
it's cute that it's Bounce Venom, right?
Yeah,
it's like a super cute design.
Bounce Carnage.
Yeah, Bounce Carnage. Because isn't Toxin a mix of Venom and Carnage? I think is what that is. But
no idea.
Yes, it's Bounce Carnage. You're right. So I think that's like super cute design. Yeah, I'm excited for the degenerate bouncers to get their toys back. Right, like because everyone always loved losing a bounce. Right, that's why it has stayed a stable, unnerved archetype across.
Number one deck right now is like the number one deck on the Infinite Leaderboard is Bounce.
Okay, well maybe this card won't.
I mean, it's Ajax Bounce, and I don't know if this goes in Ajax Bounce. It might have to change things. Ajax is the biggest thing if you're not playing Ajax. I know JD is, or was, I guess.
It's Evan busted.
Isn't it just though? No, like it's just the biggest thing you can do, like in one spot on the board.
There's a couple of people in my alliance going to be really excited about this.
Who's going to be excited in your alliance about this?
No Bast Bounce Guy and
you've got
Geo.
No Bast Bounce Guy?
Yes.
Oh, they're in your alliance? That's cool. Geo finally streamed today and then sent me his deck, and tomorrow as of recording, yesterday as of, like, that's obviously the lead deck tomorrow because I played it to a 75% win rate like I always do when he posts a bounce deck. I love his decks.
Oh man, is it effing busted, Glazer?
It is OMG effing busted. No, it's so okay.
I'm very excited for that thumbnail. That's all I'm gonna say.
One day, someone's gonna say something about that, and I'm actually gonna speak my mind, and I'm gonna get in so much trouble.
All right. Well, that day will not be today because we need to still have one more card to talk about, Anti-Venom.
No one else talked about fucking Scarlet Spider but me.
It wasn't Scarlet Spider, Glazer. It's Toxin.
Yeah, Toxin. Sorry, I don't know how to read. JD or Intero, do you have anything to say about Toxin?
JD.
Yeah, this just goes in every bounce deck, and
Yeah.
bounce is already good.
You
It's
said it all, Glazer. I mean, this is going to be like a staple, right? This is going
Part
in
of the
every
month.
bounce deck, no matter what kind of avenue, whether it's werewolf, whether it's whatever other bounce deck there is, but
So-
this is going in it.
So ready? Does it have to be a bounce deck? Like you're running your Thena White Widow bullshit?
Yeah,
Like, do you have to? Like, can't you just Toxin sometimes? Just have a 3/8? Like, we've seen
it's
that
just a
3/8s
good
are playable.
It's just a good 3.
Yeah.
Could even bounce some surfer stuff back.
Oh, man. I'm excited. All right. Last one. Go ahead, Roy.
All right, Anti-Venom is a 4/6 Series 5 6K tokens. On reveal, set the cost and power of your deck's top card to 0. JD, what do you think about this big boy right here?
Like every card you keep showing me is just like better than the last one almost.
This card's insane.
Yeah, like pick a card and put 0/0 on it. Yeah, it's pretty good, right?
It's like gives you like a vault utility card. Like you're not playing it you're just playing it for the effect now, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
insanely. This is insane.
The dream is Iron Man, right?
Iron
don't know.
Man.
I'm thinking, like, what if I get a 0/0 Magneto, right? And I can just like move their shit around while also doing, what I plan to do anyway. Or I'm trying to like yes, you immediately think Iron Man, but I'm trying to think of what else.
Odin.
And it's like basically
Hit
any
mon-
like
hit
what if you get a
monkey.
0/0 Arnhem, right? And you just want to like Arnhem something.
So, is this new Iron Lad? Is it?
You know what this is, and I'm not even fucking kidding? Howard the Duck value in a way Iron Lad is not. I'm not even kidding. I think like Howard is decent with this. Because there's definitely going to be things in your deck you don't want to do this to. Although a 0/0 Shang-Chi sounds fucking amazing.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So like, it doesn't have to be Iron Man. It's just something that you want the utility from that you can play for free alongside what you were going to do anyway. Like
We had a 4/0 Darkhawk, right? And that was amazing. So a 0/0 Darkhawk sounds pretty fucking fine.
That's insane.
You're fine with all like it's a Darkhawk deck. This right? Am I crazy?
I think
Like,
it's an
'cause you
anything.
want all you-
it's almost an
sure.
anything deck.
No, it can't be anything. Like if you're running like Evolutionary doesn't want this, right? Like High Evo doesn't want this. Bounce doesn't want this. Like there's enough decks that don't want this.
I think this
This is
is going a
mid-range.
lot.
But I think it's mid-rangey shit. Like
yeah, like
Thena
Iron
or
Lad used to be
Angela
in
are
like
fine.
tons of decks, and now it's nowhere.
Yep.
Maybe this is like the evolution of that kind of idea.
You can play this with Iron Lad.
This is probably there's some other ones that you should buy. This is probably the must pick up of the month, I think.
Nah, Toxin.
I think you're a little biased.
Nah, I'm not biased. Toxin.
It's definitely
think-
a powerful card.
Yeah.
What's really cool is almost all of these sort of create new archetypes or new types of decks.
Mhm.
Except the bounce one, but like whatever.
I have a feeling Anti-Venom is not going to create a new deck type. I think it's just going to be like another thing in the Cam Best style mid-range soup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I could see that. It's a Darkhawk thing. Like it's a
I think-
Darkhawk, Thena, Angela, good stuff you shit thing.
You move around a couple of cards, and it's kind of the same deck that it always is. The kind of like good Series 4, Series 5 deck.
You play
So-
this on 4, and then you play a 0/0 whatever and Sandman.
Yeah.
Ooh.
0/0 Doom seems fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Ugh. All right. Anti-Venom. What a fucking month, huh?
Yeah,
Like-
this month is crazy.
Yeah,
So August
two
is
really powerful
good.
months in a row.
Then September is great, and October is what the fuck.
I mean, that is also, isn't that also what happened in last fall? Like,
So
wasn't
last year,
Loki?
July and August were both completely terrible. Like
What was
nothing happened.
August last year? Wasn't August?
Dokken.
Was
Yeah.
Dokken?
Dokken.
Okay.
X-23 was the only good card that came out of the month. It was like Dokken,
Okay.
Silver Samurai, Lady Deathstrike.
So then September was Loki.
September is the best month they've ever had. It's Loki, Eliath, Mobius, and Ravonna.
Oh,
People, they
Like,
really
I'm-
wanted to
like,
promote
it's
Loki
the
season
only
2.
month I know every card immediately because it's just like I remember the
And
exact
then
shape.
Elsa
of
was
that
also Werewolf was October.
Elsa, Werewolf, and Nico,
Nico was
and
yeah.
then like fucking
Man Thing
two
or
bad
something.
cards, Man Thing,
Man
and
Thing.
then one other card. I think it was a 5-er.
And then
Oh, Black Knight.
and then the next month was Miss Marvel. So that was it. Last fall was busted.
Yes, effing busted.
Effing busted, yes. OMG, we should move into the last segment of every week, which is our variant of the week. All right, so Nerfy over here, Loki. All right, I'll start over here in the on the right here with Lady Loki, Femme Loki. Who picked Lady Loki or Femme Loki over here on the right?
I picked Lady Loki, and I think Lady Loki might be the best variant in the whole game. And I cannot believe there's 2 other Lokis up here.
I don't like art germ art.
That's fair.
Lady Loki is one of like 2 art germs I own. I own Lady Loki
Lady
and
Loki, when you have a
White Widow.
like an ink split with like gold or green Kirby's coming out of it, this is so insane.
I've got it gold with Rainbow as my Loki of choice.
Rainbow's good too. I'll take it.
She covers up too much of the background for me to like it gold. I had to switch to other Lokis because there's no background with her. She's too close up to the screen. That's my take on her.
Well, I'm sorry that you're completely wrong, Glazer.
Look,
This
I'm
variant is out of this world.
All right.
The middle one, which I assume is Glazer JD, are you also
Yes.
a man of good taste with Glazer?
Yes, sir. This is what
So-
Loki players think they look like when they play Loki.
That's a good one.
I like it because it's from the Al Ewing Loki run, which is my favorite, which is my second favorite Loki run ever, along with the Kieran Gillen one. But there is no art for the Kieran Gillen run, so I'm gonna go with the
It
Al
didn't
Ewing
have the
one.
greatest art, so it's not surprising.
It didn't, but like I wouldn't hate little kid Loki,
I'm sure we'll get one
younger kid
eventually.
Loki. Maybe see if they keep making Loki variants. The card is
He's still one of the most popular MCU characters. Like, they keep cranking
true.
out variants for unplayable cards because they're popular characters. Because there's some degenerate Elektra fan that has bought every single Elektra
I
variant that
could
they've
not believe
released.
the Conqueror's variant was Elektra.
There's a decent Elektra, too. I
so.
mean,
my-
Elektra has
my
some great
perspective
variants. Like,
Yeah, she does. But I think I bought the Demon bundle, and then like another
I have the
Elektra
Demon
bundle
bundle,
came
too.
out like the right after.
Wait, has anyone talked to Ken about it? Did Ken like get it? Because I bet you he didn't.
No, I don't think he. I think he voted for Pawnee.
Yeah,
I voted for Nina. She came in third. I was happy and sad at the same time. Third's a great
I went-
finish.
I went with Dex. I figured this was like right up his alley. Look, no, they just didn't play people. It was very stupid. Yeah. All right. Why should we vote for Loki, Roy?
I just think this is super cool, well done art. Like, I think it's super cool, stand out. Like, Loki has some great variants, but President Loki is just my favorite. I think it's funny. Like, both his appearance, President Loki's appearance in season 1 of Loki was hilarious, and I find this variant to be immensely charming. So,
The gold split in that one's quite good as well.
it is very good.
So I do not have that one. So
All right. Well, JD, could you just quickly remind our loyal listeners and loyal viewers, where will they find you on these here series of tubes, and what they would find if they tuned into your content?
Yeah, Twitter and Twitch, JDMacdonaldinho, spelled exactly how it sounds. If you tune into the stream, I don't take myself too seriously. And I like to think that most people who tune in can learn something. I try and just think out loud and explain why I'm doing what I'm doing. And on Twitter, I post decks that, like, I'm not really a meta gamer. I try and play against the meta most of the time. So if you see a deck on there that's doing well for me, it might do well for you too.
So, if you've ever heard that Lambie is totally washed,
Which he is.
If you've ever seen me get temporarily banned in someone's chat, wasn't it Taro's chat? Just that is the JD effect. He is. So I don't love trolling. I often think it's very stupid and immature, unless you're really fucking funny. And JD is really fucking funny. He's also a very, very good person. I talk to JD almost every day. Every day? Probably close enough to every
Just
day.
about, yeah.
For spitting distance. But for all of that, you should really check out his stream because he likes to think people can learn. He's phenomenal. Like, he plays off-meta stuff into the high top 100s fairly regularly. He tanks his rank by being completely ridiculous. But that's always entertaining, too. But he's a brilliant player, and, like, genuinely a brilliant Marvel Snap mind. He comes up with completely original decks, completely original takes. He was one of the, like, people I went to figure out how I was like, am I missing something with Loki? Is Loki actually going to be good? And, like, I went to JD along with Safety to be like, hey, what? And JD's answer is basically to laugh at the quality of the card. But, like, this is a very, very high-quality card player and high-quality human being who is genuinely fucking hilarious. Go follow him.
And he's an Interro sub.
True.
Yeah.
That's what really matters in life. So, Interro, if our loyal listeners and loyal viewers want to become your subs, what would they find in your content?
My content is on Twitter and Twitch. On Twitter, I am a massive troll, and hopefully Glazer doesn't mind that. But I also, pump out the news. I think a lot of Second Dinner and Marvel Snap news is isolated on the Discord, and not a lot of people go there. So if I learn anything out, or if I see something interesting, I try to pump it out of my accounts, and a lot of people, thank me for sharing that information with them because they don't know where to find it. So you can follow me for info, memes, trolls, and general Snap content. And then on Twitch, I do my Day One Infinite Climb, and then it's Conquest, baby. It's Conquest for the rest of the month. I'm grinding Conquest away. I'm using community decks. I also try to play off meta stuff. And then I just grind those infinity borders till I run out of tickets. And I try to have fun while I'm doing it. So you can stop by and you can redeem some Channel Point anime dances while you're at it.
So, I don't know how to say this without seeming mean, but it's true. So, Interro is a Marvel Snap bully.
A bully?
A bully, absolute bully. His whole content is based on Conquest, where he's probably the single best player making Marvel Snap Conquest content, and he just beats the shit out of these poor fools. Just murders them, just like he does to the trolls on his Twitter. It's a Marvel Snap bully, but he is very good at this game. Very high level thought. Constantly in a fight with Second Dinner, to the point where if it wasn't for a certain fan of comic books, he might get in some more trouble about that. But he is a delightful person who is genuinely, again, like, fantastic to be around. If you like strong opinions, and if you watch my content, let's be honest, you like strong opinions, you should be following Interro.
Appreciate you, Glazer.
Some of the best Snap memes on Twitter every day.
Oh, no doubt. You know who Snap memes are amazing? Roby.
Yes.
All right. Well, my favorite meme / segment of every episode is this one, where Glazer reads in as few breaths as possible our lovely, amazing, one and brilliant patrons. So, Aaron, go ahead.
I'd like to say thank you to Abigail Gleason, Manager Burnout Cables, Matt H, Irregardless, David G. Wingfield, Direwolf, LAB, FaThorNewman, Good Dog Gamer, This Is the Way, Inc., I Am Frostman, Jane Everett, Corbin, Prime Brian, Caretix Lee, Koire, Parafrost, The Goat Seeker, Demna Falcon, Quid Pro Joe, Doc D, Cave New World, Snap Card Content, Fratnick, Ginger Prime, Philip Rakovich, Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the James Zone, Rob Silverman, The Pizza, Extra Gene, Skippy G, Tommy Nyquist, winner of Snapchat League Season 1, King of Bros, Black Dolly, The Great Kazoo, Jessica Campbell, Ryan Wood, Kev Ciota, Ludacris, Archangel 3K, John Q, Louis Antonez, Mod Supreme, Models, Darth Tater, Dana Satala, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B, JDMacdonaldinho, The Fuzzy Donald, Spectrum X, Woot, Matt H, Mikey Hedgings, No Flex, Ikelarz, Craig Sterry, Seamus, Spike Jones, Two Ties, The Great Lauren Whatevs, The Parry King Tuccrr, The Homie Man, and of course Gunny T, where the T stands for Roy. Take us out of here.
All right. Well, I want to say thank you, JD, for joining us this week. You were a great guest, and I appreciate you staying up late to record with us.
I appreciate you guys also.
Taro, thank you so much for joining us this week. It was great having you on. It was great to put a face to the Twitter personality, and it was absolutely wonderful to have you in the episode.
Happy to be here.
Awesome. All right, Aaron, that brings us to the end of this episode where I get to say it is a pleasure doing this each and every week with you, my friend.
Peace and love, everybody.
I did slightly lie there. Lie. Well, it's the end of a very long recording session here. Lie there, because I will not be on next week's episode. So I will be out of the United States and with my wife's family. So I will not be here next week. So haters, you get a break, but I will return triumphantly in the middle of August to this show. But until then, stay safe, make good choices, and keep on Snap.